Now I love taking photographs with my iPhone, and being able to adjust the depth of field before and after taking the photograph and create masks in Lightroom based on depth information, now that is brilliant. Now if you know this already, then great, but after taking this portrait of my friend Steve Healy with my iPhone, I did get quite a few comments and questions from friends about the depth of field and how it was done in camera, or rather in phone. Now I captured the portrait using the built-in camera app on my iPhone in the portrait setting, which maybe should have a different name, something like depth or blur, because it's not just for taking portraits. But when you use it straight away with the default settings, it gives a cool looking out of focus background. When you turn on the portrait setting, the f-stop that the app mimics is set to f1.4, but you can also tap on it in the top right and then change it by dragging the slider at the bottom, left and right to adjust the depth or the blur in the background. Right to decrease the depth or add more blur and mimic what would be f1.4, and left to increase the depth or add less blur, all the way to mimic what would be f16. You can also access it from the bottom menu options. But here's the really cool thing. If you take a photograph in the portrait setting and not everything is in focus that you want, all you need to do is go to the photograph in the camera app, tap on Edit, and then the f-stop in the top left. You then have the slider appear again at the bottom, where you can drag left or right to alter the depth of field or blurriness after you've taken the photograph. So here's a portrait of me and my wife that a friend took with my iPhone in portrait mode at a friend's wedding vow renewal recently. But you can see that my wife is out of focus because the fake depth of field has concentrated on just me rather than both of us, likely because of how we were standing, angled away slightly, so my wife is further back. So again, I tap on Edit, then the f-stop in the top left, and drag to the left to increase the depth. So around about the f5.6 mark makes my wife come into focus, but also maintain a little bit of blur in the background to give that shallow depth of field look. Now though, I want to quickly show you something else that you can do with photographs taken in that portrait mode, but in Lightroom, and that's create masks based on depth. You can do this in Lightroom Mobile if you import from the camera roll, but I've exported the original photograph of my friend Steve from the photo app out onto my desktop. You can see it here as a HEIC, and this file I have imported into Lightroom. Then in the develop module, I go to the masking section, and this is where I can use the depth range option, which ordinarily will be grayed out. But because this photograph has been taken in the portrait setting, it includes depth information. Now we have this gradient here where we can drag the left and right hand markers. But check this out. You can see that the photograph contains depth information because as I drag the left marker over, notice how the parts on Steve's face which are nearest show first. And as I continue to drag the marker to the right, areas that are closer start to be revealed. If I drag all the way to the right, the only area covered in the red overlay is the back wall, which is the part furthest away. Obviously, with this being masking, any area covered with the red overlay is what will be affected if we now make any adjustments. So let's just put that marker back over to the left. I can also use this sampler to tap on areas in the photograph, and when I do, Lightroom uses the depth information and selects the whole area that is the same distance away as where we tapped down. I can choose other areas like Steve and again the back wall. So I can use the gradient or the sampler to create masks of certain areas within a photograph, and also alter the transition from one area to another based on their positioning or depth, and then edit them. So really cool stuff, and it'd be really exciting to see how this technology develops even further. But like I said, this isn't completely new and some folks know and use it already. But I did speak to a few people and show them and they were completely unaware. So that really is who this video is for. But that's all I've got for now, so you know the drill. I'd really appreciate a thumbs up to give the video a like. And if you haven't yet, click on subscribe, because as you know, that's just a great free way that you can support this channel. But for now, that's me, I'm done. I'll see you in the next video.